And so they were teeing me up to go on like the Tonight Show. I mean, this was going to be huge. I was so ready because, you know, I had this plan to rule the world. And so I remember that they were kind of prepping me for that. And then about 6 weeks later, it all went away. Like it just went away. It just vaporized. And I sort of heard the scuttlebutt that, we're not sure it's it's not going to happen.
What do you think of the outcome?
You lose all perspective after a certain point.
But it was
I think they're going to come out and say, it was good. I'm not rehearsing my Academy Award speech. I think that the people who think that what I write is gross, vulgar, and that it's really terrible go, woo-ah! The people. Gotcha.
Ah, you did.
Gotcha. See how low this is? I want to do that to people. Why?
Well, it's fun, obviously. I mean, it didn't bother me, it made me laugh.
And people laugh. But, you know, somebody should give me a straight shot to the jaw, and I think that would straighten me out. I would maybe stop it, but I can't stop it. It's like, please stop me before I do it again.
I think what the fans mean when they say they ruined your book is that whatever that heart is, or the feeling of the writer that's between the lines almost, you know, that makes the heart of the book, wasn't in the film. And this time it's there. This film is vulgar in places. It's very frightening in places.
Is it grisly?
There are places where it's a bit grisly. There are places where the critics are going to say Stephen King continues to practice the gospel of nothing succeeds like excess. But at the same time, there's enough of the heart, that there's enough, I think, of the sort of good humor and sort of straight-ahead drive that the stories have, so that I think people are going to come out of it and say, yeah, it was great. It is the best. In terms of technique and in terms of all the rest of it, probably not.
Now the writer from Bangor, Maine has decided to become master of his own movie-making destiny. Tomorrow, you'll get a chance to see his directorial debut with the opening of Maximum Overdrive. It brings us more monstrous machines with terror at the truck stop.
You get someone as great as Stephen King and that mind of Stephen King delivering something unique. And for whatever reason, it came out and the critics, you know, had their way with Stephen. I mean, how dare Stephen come out with him being a novelist and he's going to show us how to do movies. I mean, from maybe that concept, we were wrong, you know, and well, what can you do? You don't make movie for critics. You make movies for the audience, and that's what Stephen wanted to do. If it's not successful, no, you don't swallow it and forget about it and say, oh, well, not at all. You carry that because you work hard on it. You risk a lot of things that go into filmmaking.
It seems that even the poster and cover art was censored. An Italian artist illustrated a killer poster which was only used in France and was later featured on the cover of the 2001 VHS DVD release. The only reasonable explanation why this wasn't originally used in the US release is because it was too graphic. The movie had some interesting titles in foreign countries. In Italy, it was called Thrill. Bulgaria, it was called At Top Speed. In Germany, Rea M, It Began Without Warning. In Mexico, Peru, and Argentina, it was called 8 Days of Terror. In Spain, The Rebellion of the Machines. In Japan, it was called Devil's Truck from Hell. In Brazil, Train of Terror. In Colombia, The Machines of Terror. In French Canada, The Evil Trucks. In Taiwan, Thrilling to Kill You. The hype must have been huge, with the best-selling horror writer finally directing his own movie, starring Emilio Estevez from The Breakfast Club, and the trailers selling it well as a good horror movie. The expectations were high. Many people were disappointed to see how lightly the subject matter was actually treated at times. Today, it is actually classified as a comedy. With troubled production, a first-time director, careless editing, quick shifting tones, overacting, censorship hell, the pace and tone changes dramatically, it all makes the end product feel like a mishmash. The entire production was a creative struggle between Stephen King and producer Dino De Laurentiis that wanted completely different things. Maximum Overdrive was originally slated for release in March 1986, but Stephen King thought this timing was a mistake. wanting a summer release to match the feel of the movie. So the distributor, MGM, agreed to delay the release until the summer if King were willing to do a publicity tour for the film. He obliged, doing things like starring in the film's trailer and VJing on MTV for a week. The budget was $10 million, and it earned at the box office $7.4 million. Emilio Estevez called the film the one he regrets doing the most in his career, and is the reason there are no interviews with him on the movie.
But in the end, film subsidies and incentives proved to be just about as important as that.
Basically, a Republican faction gained control in the state legislature and decided that they weren't going to play games with the film industry anymore, and they basically abolished the local film incentive program.
And so the tax credits were gone, and people didn't have the incentive to come here because Georgia has the tax credits, South Carolina has the tax credits, New Orleans has the tax credits, and you get a lot of the same locations in all these places.
Within the space of about 18 months, the film industry pretty much almost died off here. I mean, we've had a small number of ongoing productions. We have a couple of indie productions right now, but much of the industry and much of the people who made the Wilmington film industry have moved on to Atlanta.
And everybody in the town was enamored with the industry.
It was some pretty serious euphoria. I mean, people loved it. They loved this celebrity, they loved the stars, they loved the news crews coming in, you know, and just it was, yeah, you know, you stop traffic and yeah, you have to shut up and not mow your lawn because they're recording sound, but they took it all really well in their stride, and I think they were pretty proud of the fact that that much stuff was going on here. I'm not in the movie business anymore. I wouldn't want to go back to it, but it makes for great barroom stories with total strangers. Well, you know, I know it sounds stupid, but I had not realized until you mentioned it just now that it's a cult film. I mean, I just assumed it was one of those things that drifted off into the background, like, you know, other movies of his, like Cat's Eye and stuff like that.
A friend of my daughter's owned a store in Chapel Hill, and he found out that I had worked on the movie and done the construction on the movie. And he told my daughter that this is, you know, there's like a cult following for this movie. And that was the first time that I'd ever heard that, you know, there was kind of a resurgence in its popularity. And that gentleman actually came down at some point and looked at this head that's behind me because he had to see it. And he was just as thrilled as you, I think.
I was disappointed that the film wasn't better. It was barely out long enough to roll the end credits. But at that time, cable television had come on to the scene, and they needed content. And so they would run these movies 24/7 for months and months and months. And so this movie, which bombed when it came out, with the exception of the AC/DC song, became this huge cult hit.
I don't know if I ever knew Overdrive got a cult following. I just knew that it never went away. I mean, this is 1985, it's 33 years ago, and I still get residual checks for 40, 50 bucks every once in a while, some of them from like German pay TV. It's out there all the time. So I owe it, I think, an immense amount. And I'm grateful and delirious, and I'm just kind of tickled that it's still out there blowing up on people's screens.
I get more questions and people recognizing me now from Maximum Overdrive than anything else I've done. So there's something today about that film that resonates with people. Or it could be that they were 12, 13, 14, 15 years old when it came out, and that was the movie that kind of introduced them to a heightened sense of horror and fun and mayhem.
It was not as big a deal at the time as it has become. It's crazy how cult status, you know, this movie has become. And until about maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I had no idea that this thing wasn't just something, you know, laying in the bargain basement bin of a used CD or DVD store, you know, or Blu-ray store.
more people are still talking about Maximum Overdrive today than they're talking about the award-winning Oscar films from that same year. So that says something about the movie you were in, sir.
Well, that is very cool. I'm glad to be a part of it. I like meeting people, you know.
Sure.
That's why, you know, like the truck shows and this, that, and the other, just to meet the people that actually still enjoy the movie. And it has an unbelievable following.
I actually thought it was better yesterday than I thought it was when I first did it. I thought, you know, this is kind of a style piece. And if you go with the style of the sort of comic book nature of the characters, it actually plays pretty well.
People come up to me and go, "Oh my God, you're in that Stephen King movie. You're the screaming newlywed." They say that, and they say, if they're really dialed into the film, they say, "Curtis, are you dead? Come on, just say it, just say it. Oh my God, I love you." And it happens less now, maybe because I'm older and seem sort of stately.
Would I do it again? Yes, I would. With what I know now, I think that I could do a fairly adequate job. On the other hand, I'm really busy and I'm getting old.
Through the years, we here at WECT had the honor to do several stories with Pat Hingle. He even allowed us inside his Carolina Beach home a few years ago.
Now, while we were there, he told us how he ended up laying roots in southeastern North Carolina.
The reason that I'm living in this area now, I came here to do a movie, a Stephen King movie, called Maximum Overdrive in 1985, and we've been here ever since. What if you could look out every morning? You can't get too full of yourself if you watch out a lot, you know. You think, man, how puny am I with all that power out there, you know. Both created by the same creator. And so, you know, I found it delightful here.